Alright, fellow Ranger fans, time to look at the second episode of the day, which is Become Small. A nervous dwarf named Don is standing within Pandora's castle, being interviewed by the witch. Stated to live in Fairywood's Section 3, Number 25. It's his specialty is sculpting, which the dwarf states he loves, playing with clay, and that he wants to be Leprechaun's assistant. Pandora wonders if he's good enough, as the monster maker states there's nothing they can do since she's always pushing him to make more Dora monsters, and he can't do the job alone. Donald picks a booger out as Tophead realizes that's why he put a wanted out in the fairy woods as Pandora asks about the dwarf's works. Dora reveals an object known as Pico Pico bombs within a glass jar, which he opens and reveals a parading squad of costume animals, which Pandora complains is too festive, for Don sucks them back away. Pandora complains she wants Dora monsters that can frighten children, and those things will just excite them. Meanwhile, Boy and Dan are checking on a boy named Toshio, whose mother is complaining he isn't doing his homework and doesn't want to go to school, with the boy complaining he won't forget, and his mother stating that's what he always says and considers him just a dumb boy who won't listen, forcing him to class. As Boy states she's a bit too overreacting and it's frightening for kids to be yelled at by adults. Dan states the right to do it so kids can learn lessons. In class, Toshio is being tormented by his teacher for forgetting his homework as he leaves dejected. However, out of nowhere, Don falls from the sky, scaring Toshio, while stating Pandora claims he needs more training. Toshio sympathizes with him as Don inappropriately laughs, and Toshio says it's alright since he knows he's a loser for forgetting his homework. Don says he's always getting Toshio's sympathy before realizing he forgot something, running off with the boy chasing him. Don reveals to Toshio near Tokyo Tower that he used to collect samples in the human world as samples for his sculptures. When Toshio asks how, Don decides to demonstrate, opening a jar on a motorcycle and sucking it in and shrinking it small enough to be placed in his bottle. Toshio's impressed and has to do it as well, getting Don's permission to pulls a jar out, claiming it could something big, capturing an airplane within. Don follows by capturing Tokyo Tower. Then Toshio grabs the train and the dwarf at building. The drinking incidents make the news as mere disappearances, as Rangers realize Pandora is somehow behind it and head out to deal with the threat. In the city, Boy and Dan see a ship flying there as they chase after it, as Don stores another jar, with Toshio noting he has some samples for sculpting as Dan and Boy find them. Toshio is fearful they think they found him for running out on school, as he and Don run off with the bottles into a nearby truck. The two Rangers continue chasing, realizing Toshio was with the dwarf as they borrow a car to chase after. Toshio complains that the truck is too slow, but Don states he can't complain because they got a free ride. The two quickly catch up with while Don and Toshio, fearful they'll be yelled at again, and the dwarf decides to suck them into a jar, capturing Dan and Boy within. Toshio fears that they shouldn't be doing this, as Dan and Boy yell at him for being a Dora monster, which he takes offense at. Boy asks if he knows what he's doing with the people they shrank in the bottles. Over here, everyone inside the vehicles in Tokyo Tower can't breathe within our confines, making Don realize they did a terrible thing and they should release everyone, opening the bottles to bring everyone back inside where they belong. Dan then asks to let them out. Dan then asks them to let him and Boy out their bottle, and Toshio agrees and they didn't know. But Dan states they caused a panic and the boy will be spanked for the chaos he caused, making Toshio yell he doesn't want that and throwing their bottle back on the ground, rolling upside down. Boy complains Dan was too harsh about this and he should be gentle with Toshio due to the size difference, making Dan more apologetic to try and win him over. On the moon, Pandora realizes Don did something amazing, capturing two Rangers, and decides to send Griffinzar and Toadpad and Bulkback to get the bottles while creating rebellion among children. Pandora's troops start chasing Don and Toshio till the other Rangers arrive, protecting them as Griffinzar attacks them, forcing Gekik, Goshi, and May to transform and fight off a Golem squadron. Toadpad and Bulkback aim for Dan and Boy's bottle, which Toshio steals back and runs away from until it's thrown in the air to be caught by Terror Ranger. Dan tells them to get the map. Griffinzar attacks her, forces the two flying until they land on train tracks with an oncoming train going to smash them. Dan tries to get out of the car but can't due to the doors being blocked by the jar, and May yells for them until she leaps and grabs the bottle and frees them before the train can hit them. Escaping the car, Dan complains they don't want to be small again, but a golem smashes them, making the two transform and knock the squadron of minions away. Don and Toshio keep trying to escape as his mother and teacher appear, forcing them to hide as their teacher complains Toshio snuck out of school and his mother won't forgive him. Both Dandan and Toshio worry about their positions and doing bad things. Toshio begins to feel regret for what he's done, but are stopped as Bandora suddenly appears before them, shocking Dandan. Which states if they don't want to be killed, they should defeat the adults before it happens. Bandora telling them that Toshio's mother and teacher don't like him, and that's why they keep yelling at him. Shocking Dandan as the boy wonders how he can defeat the adults. Bandora promises to help them by using a growth spell and throwing her wand, making both Toshio and Dandan grow in the process as Pandora's troops escape from the Zyurangers, leaving it to the giants. Dandan and Toshio declare they'll defeat the adults and try to squash the tiny Zyurangers as they escape, and Toshio uses sumo wrestling to cause earthquakes. As his teacher and mother approach Toshio, asking why he's doing this, he states he hates them as he forces them to the ground with his power, and Dandan celebrate they defeated the adults. Wondering what to do, Geki summons the guardian beast and informs Aizujin to deal with the crisis. As Dandan wonders what the giant mech is, Goshi admits it may be giant, but they can't just fight a child, as Toshio worries about them being big now too. Dandan decides to shrink them with the bottle, capturing Aizujin within as Dan complains they're captured again, while Geki summons Godhorn sword, making her shake and forcing the guardian worried out of the bottle. Toshio takes the Godhorn and attacks Aizujin with it, only to be grabbed as Boy yells at him to stop doing this or he'll be a bad person, as Toshio's mom yells to punish him. However, Boy then accuses the mother being the problem, telling her to think of this child before yelling, since he gets scared easily being so small. Upset, Toshio's mother yells, claiming it was her fault, as the giant child runs to her upset, and tells Aizujin he wants to be normal, with Dandan joining in. Bandora calls both giants losers as Aizujin takes the bottle and prepares to suck Bandora's forces into the bottle, forcing which to make the ball hunter stabbing his book by thrown high into the air. Angry, Bandora destroys the bottle and escapes with her minions, which likewise breaks the growth spell. Normal says again, Toshio's mother finds her son as to embrace in their fear and apologizing for what they've done, as Dandan says to take a picture of the two of them to the beauty of family ties. Later, Dandan says to go back to the fairy woods, with Toshio telling him to be a good sculptor and Geki warning him not to make any Dora monsters. The dwarf decides to give Toshio a statue of Aizujin before departing, and tells Toshio to listen to his mother and do his homework. So anyway, let's take a look at an error from this episode. During the scene with Dandan and Toshio in the train yards, in certain instances the part where the mask and the suit of the Dandan costumes separate can be seen. So overall, this is a pretty good episode, and yeah, it's a good thing that Toshio's mother ultimately apologized to him, so yeah. So overall, I give Become Small 4 Megazords out of 5. Anyway, tune in to the final episode of the day, Destroy the Dark Super Sword. So, until then, in the words of Zordon, may the power protect you.